Good morning. The Ministry of Education recognizes and acknowledges the concerns that have been expressed by the parents of Paget Primary in regards to class size and teacher placement. The Commissioner of Education and I met with PTA representatives of Paget Primary and the Paget Primary principal this morning. The PTA representatives were forthright in sharing that the teachers of the school had reached out to them and asked for their support. After speaking with the parents and principal this morning, it is unfortunate that the narrative of teachers possibly losing their employment was driven by some of the teachers themselves. I can state that there will be no loss of employment by the one teacher from Paget Primary that will be reassigned in our school system. Every year, the Department of Education reviews enrollment and allocations of teacher resources and makes adjustments in the best interest of our students. This includes the routine reassignment of teachers within the system. Keeping with that practice, Paget Primary, as well as several other schools, were identified as schools that needed a review of staff allocation. This process was discussed with principals approximately 6 weeks ago, and I've been assured by the principal of Paget Primary that she had discussed the potential reassignments with potentially affected teachers as well. The ministry is committed to working with parents, teachers, and students to ensure that our students receive a quality education in a safe environment with the best teachers and resources made available. With declining enrollment at a number of schools, the ministry and the Department of Education is obliged to examine what measures best allow us to maintain our commitment to students and teachers. Based on the response from the principal and the assessment needs of the schools and students, it was decided that one teacher from Paget's teaching staff would be reassigned to another public school for the 2019-2020 school year. This will result in a P4 class of 22 students having one classroom teacher. This means that the staffing levels at Paget Primary will be reduced by only one teacher at the P4 level. The surplus P4 teacher will be reallocated to fill an existing gap at other schools where the enrollment remains high. The enrollment data for public schools clearly indicates a decline in the number of students, as was seen in the enrollment for 2019-2020 school year. A decline is projected to continue up to the year of 2026. This reality will require us to continue to examine staffing allocations at our schools, and this will mean we will continue to reassign staff as needed. One of the benefits of reviewing class sizes and staffing allocations is that we are able to reassign teaching staff to fill vacancies within the school system. We will continue this practice and note that the restructuring of staff will ensure that we keep our teachers in the system, staffing gaps are filled, and quality education continues with the Bermuda public school system. Our focus for the upcoming year is on assuring excellent teaching occurs to help our students to achieve their highest potential. We are committed to working with parents, teachers, and students to ensure that our students receive a quality education in a safe environment with the best teachers and resources made available to them. Thank you.
Minister, will be continued. We go back to Pakistan first. You said that one teacher is to be reassigned. The staff there, the parents, they were complaining that there were two teachers that were going to be reassigned, and that there would be three class grades that would be impacted. Grade 1, P1, P2, and P4. P6, I think it was. Or P1, P4, and P6. Yeah.
Yes, Gary, and as I said, we were very unfortunate to learn that this narrative, this unfortunately erroneous narrative, was one that was perpetuated by the teachers themselves. The P1 class was always going to be one stream because there are only 17 students within that had enrolled in the school in this year, and that's been known for some time now. And the P4 class is being reduced to one teacher because we have, as I said, 22 students.
And P6?
And P6, after we looked at the situation at Paget Primary, and it already had been decided before this morning that we were not going to remove the second teacher for P6. That was going to remain as is, and that is in a response for looking at what was needed within the classroom and the dynamic of the students that were there already.
Excuse me, the Parent-Teacher Association representative that we spoke with mentioned to us that they were only made aware of this Friday of last week?
In terms of the teachers knowing, as I said, about 6 weeks ago, these conversations were had with principals, and they had discussed them with the teachers. And I do believe that last week the final decisions were made and sent to the principals. But the commissioner could speak more on that process
Can I
as
ask
well.
about the PTA? Why they're claiming that the parents are claiming that they were only advised last week of this decision?
Gary, the parents of our schools are encouraged to discuss any issues that they have with our principals first and foremost. And it would be the school itself that talks with the actual parents on the changes that are going to occur within the school. And that is the expectation from us at the department and the ministry.
You mentioned that there are other schools which are going to experience teacher reassignments. How many schools are we looking at?
And I'll let the commissioner answer that question.
At this point, we have identified some schools, and we are not in a position to confirm those schools yet because we are still engaged in discussions.
You mentioned as well that you're expecting a continued decline in enrollment up to 2026. Surely this would indicate, or it could suggest, that there may have to be schools that would have to be closed?
I can handle that. Gary, as the public is well aware, we're in the process of restructuring our school system and looking at how we can restructure our school system. Enrollment data is something that will be taken into account on what the eventual system will look like. We are not at the position now where we're talking about what that system will be in the future, but that is something that is being examined, and we are looking to be in short order coming out and revealing to the public where we think our school system needs to be in terms of our infrastructure. But I do want to emphasize that it's critically important for us to first determine what is the profile of the student we want to have that passes through our system. Once that is nailed down, we need to talk about how do we get that student to the point where they need to be, and what teaching practices need to take place within the classroom to ensure that that happens. It will be that data that will be determined, that will be used to determine what type of buildings we need to make sure that occurs, and we will have those critical conversations at that point.
Let me be more blunt. Does government intend to be closing any schools, and if so, when?
Gary, the government intends to restructure our school system, and once that plan is in place and that plan is completed and we've consulted with the public, everyone will know at that point.
The government has made it clear that it wants to do with middle schools. I understand that you've been given a mandate to ensure that this begins next year. Any truth to that?
I have not been given any mandate to ensure that this happens next year. You might be referring to the comments made by the Premier in the House of Assembly, in which he said that it's his anticipation that we will be phasing out middle schools by the start of the next school year. But he also added that he will ensure that we measure not once, not twice, but 3 times before we make that change. And so, yes, it is anticipated that we will be able to move towards that not by this school year, but the following school year. But we're not going to move until we are ready to move.
So what will indicate that you're ready to move?
Once the consultation with the stakeholders are finished, and that will include the general public. So you will be aware of that as well.
The school report was published a few years ago, looking at this issue of primary schools.
Mm-hmm.
Is that document still being used to inform what this government does?
The school report, as well as several other reports, we had the middle school improvement report that was done, as well as some others, will help to formulate the plan moving forward.
Schools were identified for closure in that report. Speaking to Gary's point, are you not looking at those same schools?
I cannot say that because they were identified using a specific criteria, and that criteria back then, if you read through the school report, had to do with not just enrollment, but it had to do with what they felt was wrong with the school itself. As I said, we're taking a different approach. We need to determine what it is we want our schools to do and how we want our students to learn within those schools. And then we'll use that to determine what buildings are fit for purpose to do that.
Coming back to Patrick Primary,
Mm-hmm.
the reassignment of teachers will proceed.
At the Paget Primary, yes.
So despite
The reassignment of teacher
of your teacher, yes,
will proceed.
despite the expressions of dissatisfaction this morning?
As I mentioned this morning, as I mentioned earlier in my statement when we spoke to the PTA, they were very, very understanding of where we're going, and they were very knowledgeable after we spoke to them. They were a bit disappointed that they did feel that they were somewhat misled in what was going on, and they understand exactly why it's being done. And they were, at the end of the meeting, I would say they were generally supportive.
Well, this comes, I think, after there's a May deadline, if I'm not mistaken, where teachers are advised that they're going to be reassigned.
Yes.
Why is it happening now so far after the deadline?
Gary, at the May 31st deadline is to let teachers know that they will be maintained within the system. A reallocation could come later. So all teachers, from my understanding, all teachers were told in May 31st that yes, you will be working within the school system, but you may get a reassignment.
Some of the teachers that I spoke to today said that with these moves of merging classes, the teacher-student ratio at that school would be around 25 students to one teacher, and the teachers that I spoke to said that isn't a good ratio. They would prefer what it is currently, 15 to 1 student. And on top of that, there are concerns being expressed about the lack of support staff, including para-educators for those students with specific and special needs. Could you speak to those?
The ratio of students, the ratio of teachers to students from P4 through P5 is 25, and from P1 to P3 is 18. That is a standard that has been in place since time immemorial. So what we have is some teachers that have gotten comfortable teaching lesser classes, while we have other teachers in other schools that do teach classes that have a full complement. What we've done is identified at Paget Primary that there will be a P4 class with 22 students, not 25 or 26 or 27, or what we're hearing of 22 students, which is within the ratio, and it will be taught by 1 student. In terms of the added support, the conversation we had today with the principal is that she is going to make the application as done by all principals of what added support that she feels is needed at the school, and it will be evaluated and addressed at the time the application is made.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't one of your objectives to reduce class sizes to allow for a better learning environment?
Gary, I don't believe you've ever heard me say that.
Any further questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not for the comment.